So the film I'm going to talk to you about is His and Hers. In specific, I'm going to talk about the cinematography, because I'm a cinematographer. It's the camera and lighting on a movie. And our films, His and Hers, showed at Sundance in 2010, and we got a prize for the World Award for Cinematography for Documentary. The film's going to be on later on in the year. It's a very simple story. It charts women's perspective on men, starting with a very young child and working up to a 97-year-old woman, through a series of tiny vignettes that give a small glimpse of the emotional lives of the people involved. So we start off with a very young baby who's put into the shot by her father, and we see her go through the whole gamut of emotions. And that's really a small window on what happens for the whole rest of the film, because we explored each woman's emotions towards a guy in her life, be it her father, her brother, her son, her whatever. So yeah, here we have a little girl called Katie, and what we tried to do was try to frame the shots in a way that would not invade their space and give them space to do their own thing in their own way. So we tried to not control what was going on in the shot, tried not to control the person as they were speaking, so we just let their voice come through. In the film, we interviewed 90 people, and 70 of them made the final cut. So the film moves progressively from our 3-month-old baby to a 97-year-old woman. And you can get an idea of the framing that we used to try and, because we were working in you know, homes all in the Irish Midlands. We met really, really wonderful people, and we just tried to give them space to tell their own stories. One interesting thing was the colour palette seemed to organise itself, because most of the homes were in pastel, and a lot of the ladies dressed in pastel as well. But it was amazing, because sometimes you got really interesting colour coordinations and just very interesting. It just made us kind of, we were saying, okay, we're filming in Irish homes. Maybe it's not going to be interesting to people. We're just going to be showing people sitting at tables and couches and stuff. So how is that going to be interesting? But we tried to show that in these spaces, there are interesting ways of looking at them that reveal a little bit about who the person is, what sort of a life they lead, without following them around, you know, where your handheld camera following them the whole time. So we actually never moved the camera for the entire film. And also we felt that because the story is told in vignettes, it's very important that we don't necessarily get the full perspective on all the people who are involved. So we didn't worry if people were out of frame or we were just catching glimpses. We just let them do their own thing in their own space and tell their own story about their own relationships. So you can see we tried to make the framing as interesting as possible, where you don't always get the full picture, because we feel our film is very simple. It's not trying to tell the whole story. It's trying to tell very small stories and unify them in a single whole, so that you feel that although you're hearing the stories from 70 different women, you're actually following one love story through a woman's life from birth to old age. Windows became a really important visual metaphor for us, because they let us, the women all let us into their homes. None of them had ever been filmed before. And we went into their homes and had a cup of tea with them. And we looked on their world, and we felt because they let us into their world, it was important that we didn't step outside it and start following them around to the shops and everything. We just, even if they went outside, we filmed from inside and let them be outside. Also, we gave them space to move in the frame, so we didn't control where they were. You can see the young girl who we saw, Katie, peeling potatoes, and later on an older woman was talking about how her husband liked a certain type of potato. And the young girl, Katie, was talking about how she helped her daddy peel potatoes. So we had recurring motifs coming back through the stories. Again, like I say, when the ladies were outside, we tried to let them do their thing outside, and we just stayed inside. So we found some interesting frames. Till the very end, as I said to you at the very beginning of the film, a father's hands put the baby into the shot. She's a young girl, and there's no other men in the entire film till the very end, when you just glimpse one pass by. And that's the first time in the film when we actually step outside. The film is called His and Hers. Go and see it. It's 18th of June. We'd love you to come along.